Set outline and introduction. Humanity has been on a spiritual journey since the dawn of consciousness, creating diverse paths, religions, and spiritual movements. Yet, behind the seeming differences lies a unifying truth: we are all fundamentally connected as one. Each religion and spiritual tradition reflects different expressions of the same underlying truths, obscured only by cultural contexts and institutional dogma. This book explores that universal wisdom, providing a clear path towards spiritual growth and unity. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Separation and the Universal Idea of Oneness Across Religious Traditions. The concept of Maya, or illusion in Hinduism and Buddhism. The metaphor of Indra's net and interconnectedness. The shared concept of unity across Abrahamic religions, Dharmic traditions, and indigenous beliefs. Chapter 2. The Divine Spark Within. Recognition of inherent divinity across spiritual traditions. And Atman and Brahman, the universal soul in Hinduism. One in Buddha nature and inner awakening in Buddhism. The Holy Spirit within and mystical unity in Abrahamic traditions. Animism and the sacred essence in indigenous spirituality. Chapter 3. The Eternal Journey of the Soul. And reincarnation and spiritual evolution in Hinduism and Buddhism. The concept of spiritual lessons and karma. Esoteric views of soul growth in Judaism and early Christian Gnosticism. And indigenous perspectives on ancestral rebirth and continuity of spirit. Chapter 4. Enlightenment and reunion. And the ultimate goals of spiritual paths: moksha, nirvana, heaven, ascension. Experiences of enlightenment across traditions, and mystical union as described by Christian mystics, Sufis, and Vedantic sages. And modern spiritual mutual movements and the universal language of enlightenment. And Chapter 5. Living unity through compassion, and the universal ethic of compassion and the Golden Rule. And practical expressions of spiritual unity in everyday life, and transforming the world through recognizing unity in diversity. For Chapter 6, Beyond Dogma, Rediscovering the Core Truth. How dogma obscures universal truths, and examples of reformers and mystics who transcended institutional barriers, and ways to identify and remove barriers to unity and spiritual clarity. Chapter 7, A Universal Path for Today. Steps toward recognizing your personal spiritual lessons. Meditation and contemplation practices for realizing unity. Manning guidelines for spiritual growth derived from global traditions. And conclusion, returning home. We are each travelers on an eternal journey toward remembering our true nature, oneness with the cosmos. The heart of every faith tradition calls us home to unity. By seeing beyond superficial differences and embracing the universal truth of our interconnectedness, we awaken spiritually, realizing peace, compassion, and unity as our ultimate shared destiny. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Separation. Throughout human history, people have perceived themselves as separate entities, distinct individuals isolated from each other and the natural world around them. This sense of separation has often led to division, conflict, and suffering. Yet, at the core of nearly every major spiritual tradition, lies the profound insight that this sense of separateness is in fact an illusion. In Hindu philosophy, this illusion is referred to as Maya, a veil that obscures the true nature of reality. Maya convinces us that we are merely limited, finite beings, disconnected from each other and from the divine. However, behind this veil of illusion is Brahman, the infinite, unchanging and unified reality of existence. The ancient Upanishads repeatedly remind us of the essential unity of all life, encapsulated in the powerful statement, Tat Tvamasi, you are that. Buddhism offers a parallel understanding. The Buddha taught that the perception of an independent self is a fundamental error known as avidya, or ignorance. Through meditation and ethical living, practitioners uncover the interconnectedness of all phenomena. A striking metaphor from Mahayana Buddhism, Indra's net, beautifully illustrates this interconnectedness, describing reality as a vast, infinite net with a jewel at each intersection, each jewel reflecting all others, emphasizing that everything in existence is interdependent. This recognition of fundamental unity is not exclusive to Eastern philosophies. Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam also reflect the idea that separation is an illusion, though expressed differently. Judaism speaks of humanity's shared origin and inherent dignity as children of God. Christianity emphasizes unity through the metaphor of the body of Christ, stating, "We, though many, form one body." Similarly, Islam underscores the unity of all humanity under a single, omnipresent God, promoting the vision of a unified community, or ummah. Indigenous spiritual traditions globally also consistently articulate the interconnectedness of all life. Animistic beliefs, such as those held by Native American Aboriginal and many African peoples, see no distinction between the spiritual and the physical worlds. Everything, animals, plants, rivers, mountains, is alive with spirit, reinforcing an intuitive understanding of profound interconnectedness. Native American spirituality often explicitly states, "All things are our relatives," recognizing that harming another being is ultimately harming oneself. When examined collectively, these diverse spiritual paths converge on a universal truth: the illusion of separation is the root of suffering and conflict. By piercing through this veil, humanity can recognize the inherent unity that binds us all together, fostering peace, empathy, and spiritual growth. Recognizing and transcending this illusion represents the first step on a universal path toward deeper spiritual awakening and fulfillment. SAP Chapter 2. The Divine Spark Within. Across the vast spectrum of spiritual traditions, there is an extraordinary commonality: the belief in a divine spark inherent within each person. This universal principle suggests that humanity is not merely connected externally, but also internally, through the divine essence dwelling within every being. In Hinduism, this divine spark is known as Atman, the eternal self or soul. The profound realization that Atman and Brahman, the ultimate cosmic principle, are one and the same forms the essence of spiritual enlightenment in Vedanta philosophy. This recognition, encapsulated in the ancient phrase Aham Brahmasmi, is the cornerstone of spiritual awakening and the dissolution of ego-bound consciousness. Buddhism expresses this internal divinity as Buddha nature. According to Mahayana teachings, all sentient beings inherently possess this enlightened nature. Awakening, therefore, is not a transformation into something new, but a realization of what one has always been. This principle encourages compassionate living and respect for all life, recognizing the inherent worth and potential within every being. The Abrahamic traditions, though often emphasizing an external transcendent deity, also affirm a divine essence within humanity. Christianity speaks of the Holy Spirit residing within the hearts of believers, guiding, comforting, and empowering them towards spiritual growth and moral living. In Islam, the Quran describes God as being closer to you than your jugular vein, emphasizing the intimate connection between the Creator and creation. Sufi mystics further elaborate this idea, teaching the possibility of mystical union with the divine presence within. Judaism, particularly in Kabbalistic teachings, explores the notion of a divine spark within every person. This divine spark is the root of humanity's inherent dignity, creativity, and spiritual potential, guiding individuals toward ethical living, compassion, and spiritual connection. Indigenous spiritualities worldwide echo this perspective, viewing every person, animal, and element of nature as imbued with a sacred essence. In many Native American traditions, the concept of the Great Spirit is not only external, but also internal, residing in all beings and linking them together as spiritual kin. Modern spiritual movements and philosophies often explicitly promote recognizing one's inner divinity as central to spiritual development. New Age thought encourages individuals to awaken to their higher self or inner light, asserting that the realization of our inherent divine nature leads directly to personal and collective healing and transformation. This universal acknowledgement of a divine spark within serves as a powerful foundation for ethical living, compassion, and spiritual awakening. By recognizing the sacred essence within ourselves and others, we cultivate empathy, unity, and genuine respect, ultimately nurturing a world based upon shared spiritual truths and interconnectedness. Chapter 3. The Eternal Journey of the Soul. A profound and widespread spiritual belief is the eternal journey of the soul, an ongoing voyage of growth, learning, and evolution spanning across lifetimes. This belief highlights life's purpose as a spiritual classroom, where souls acquire wisdom, compassion, and understanding through experiences shaped by the universal law of cause and effect, commonly known as karma. In Hinduism, reincarnation is central to spiritual understanding. Souls repeatedly incarnate through countless lifetimes, each existence offering specific lessons or opportunities for spiritual advancement. The karmic law dictates that each action produces corresponding consequences, shaping subsequent lifetimes and guiding souls toward ultimate liberation or moksha, the release from the cycle of birth and death. Buddhism shares the foundational concept of reincarnation, but articulates it slightly differently. Rather than a fixed soul moving from life to life, Buddhism describes a continuous flow of consciousness propelled by karma and desires. Liberation, or nirvana, is achieved by awakening to the impermanence of self, ending the cycle of suffering and rebirth. In the Abrahamic traditions, explicit references to reincarnation are rare, but esoteric streams within Judaism and early Christianity explored the idea. Kabbalah, for instance, teaches about Gilgul Neshamaot, the transmigration of souls, suggesting spiritual tasks or corrections across lifetimes. Early Christian theologian Origen also hinted at souls existing before birth, continuing to evolve spiritually across multiple incarnations. Indigenous spiritual traditions often incorporate reincarnation-like beliefs, describing ancestral spirits returning within the lineage or tribe. Many Native American, Inuit, and African traditions emphasize continuity of the soul within the family or community, suggesting that life and death are not final, but part of an ongoing cycle. Modern spiritual movements, such as the New Age, explicitly embrace reincarnation and the soul's eternal journey. They often frame life as a purposeful curriculum, with each incarnation designed to teach particular spiritual lessons: patience, courage, forgiveness, or compassion. The journey continues until the soul masters these lessons, transcends karmic cycles, and achieves spiritual enlightenment or ascension. Regardless of terminology, the universal teaching of an eternal spiritual journey provides profound context to human existence. It encourages personal responsibility, ethical action, and compassion, underscoring the interconnectedness of all lives and experiences. Each challenge or circumstance becomes meaningful, guiding the soul closer to its ultimate realization of unity with the cosmos, divinity, or ultimate truth. The concept thus transforms human life into a profound and purposeful adventure of endless spiritual exploration and discovery. Chapter 4: Enlightenment and Reunion. At the heart of spiritual traditions worldwide is the aspiration toward enlightenment, a state of profound realization, awakening, or reunion with ultimate truth. Despite differing descriptions and paths, this enlightened state consistently represents the culmination of the soul's journey toward unity, liberation, and deep inner peace. In Hinduism, enlightenment or moksha signifies liberation from the cycle of reincarnation and suffering. It is the realization of absolute unity with Brahman, the universal consciousness. Vedantic teachings emphasize meditation, self-inquiry, and devotion as paths to experience this divine reunion, dissolving the illusion of separateness. Buddhism portrays enlightenment, or nirvana, as freedom from attachment, suffering, and the delusion of self. Nirvana represents the cessation of desires and karmic cycles, achieved through ethical living, meditation, and insight into the interconnected and impermanent nature of existence. This realization ends individual suffering and fosters infinite compassion toward all beings. The Abrahamic traditions describe this ultimate spiritual goal differently, but similarly emphasize a profound union with the divine. Christian mystics like Meister Eckhart and Saint Teresa of Avila described intimate experiences of merging with God, characterized by ecstatic love and transcendent peace. In Islam, Sufi mystics speak of fana, the annihilation of ego in the divine presence, experiencing direct union with Allah's essence. Judaism's mystical tradition, particularly Kabbalah, highlights devakut, or cleaving to God. It describes enlightenment as an intimate, continuous awareness of divine unity, transforming daily life into a sacred communion. This divine union is both a personal spiritual fulfillment and a universal reconciliation. Indigenous spirituality frames enlightenment as deep harmony and alignment with the Great Spirit or universal life force. The indigenous vision of reunion involves restoring balance within oneself, one's community, and the natural world. Enlightenment is expressed practically through living respectfully, sustainably, and harmoniously, recognizing the sacred interconnectedness of all life. Modern spiritual movements often translate traditional Enlightenment teachings into contemporary language, describing it as ascension, awakening, or achieving unity consciousness. Regardless of phrasing, the essence remains the same: attaining a state of unconditional love, profound peace, and direct insight into the interconnectedness of all existence. Ultimately, enlightenment symbolizes humanity's deepest spiritual yearning to return home, reunite with the Source, and rediscover our true nature. By pursuing this universal aspiration, individuals transcend personal limitations and experience profound spiritual fulfillment, embodying the unity and compassion that form the foundation of all true spiritual wisdom. Chapter 5. Living Unity Through Compassion. At the core of spiritual teachings across cultures lies the ethical imperative of compassion. This shared principle, commonly known as the Golden Rule, treat others as you wish to be treated, reflects the practical application of the truth of unity. Compassion is not merely a moral duty, it is the direct expression of our interconnectedness, recognizing that harming others ultimately harms ourselves. Hinduism teaches ahimsa, or non-violence, as a fundamental spiritual practice. Ahimsa encourages compassionate living toward all beings, recognizing that the same divine essence is present in every life form. This profound respect for life forms the basis for ethical actions, fostering empathy, kindness, and peaceful coexistence. Buddhism emphasizes compassion, known as karuna, as essential to spiritual awakening. Buddhist teachings encourage cultivating empathy and loving kindness toward all sentient beings, helping relieve suffering and foster happiness. Compassion arises naturally from realizing the interdependence of all existence, guiding Buddhists toward ethical conduct and altruistic service. In the Abrahamic traditions, compassion is foundational. Judaism's commandment to love your neighbor as yourself underscores humanity's shared dignity and spiritual connection. Christianity intensifies this call, urging unconditional love and active compassion, exemplified in the teachings of Jesus, such as caring for the poor, healing the sick, and forgiving enemies. Islam promotes compassion through mercy and charitable giving, emphasizing care for the vulnerable as an essential expression of faith. Indigenous traditions universally express compassion as respect and reverence for all life. This compassion extends not only to other humans, but also animals, plants, and the natural world. Native American teachings, for example, stress harmony and reciprocity, recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings, and advocating responsible stewardship of the earth and compassionate living toward all creatures. Modern spiritual movements and New Age thought reiterate compassion as vital to spiritual growth, often expressing it as empathy, unconditional love, or universal brotherhood. Compassion becomes both a personal practice for self-improvement and a collective path toward global healing and unity. In practical terms, living compassionately means embracing kindness, empathy, and active service in everyday life. It calls us to see beyond superficial differences, recognizing the shared divine essence within every being. Compassion is thus the most tangible expression of spiritual truth, transforming individual lives and nurturing a world grounded in empathy, cooperation, and peace. By living compassionately, we actualize our deepest spiritual insights, manifesting unity in the very fabric of our existence. On Chapter 6, Beyond Dogma, Rediscovering the Core Truth. Throughout history, spiritual teachings have frequently been shaped, codified, and at times obscured by institutional dogma and cultural norms. While structures and rituals can offer guidance and community, rigid adherence to dogmatic beliefs often obscures the fundamental truths at the heart of spirituality. This chapter explores how to identify, transcend, and rediscover the essential truths beneath the layers of institutionalized beliefs. Dogma typically arises as religious institutions grow and formalize, turning initial spiritual insights into rigid doctrines, rules, and rituals. Over time, dogma can become divisive, fostering an us versus them mentality that distracts from the core message of unity, compassion, and personal awakening. The history of religion provides numerous examples, whether the conflict among different Christian denominations, sectarian divisions in Islam, or rigid caste systems in Hinduism, that illustrate how dogmatic beliefs can undermine spiritual unity and harmony. Yet, throughout the ages, spiritual reformers and mystics have challenged institutionalized dogma, reminding humanity of the deeper, universal truth. The Buddha rejected ritualism and emphasized ethical living and personal awakening. Jesus confronted the legalism of the Pharisees, advocating love, mercy, and direct communion with God. Sufi mystics and Kabbalistic scholars have similarly emphasized personal, experiential spirituality over mere ritual adherence. To rediscover core spiritual truths, individuals must develop discernment, distinguishing between cultural traditions or institutional rules and genuine spiritual principles. This discernment often involves personal exploration, meditation, study, and openness to wisdom from various traditions. It encourages seeking direct spiritual experience rather than passive adherence to imposed doctrines. In contemporary society, many are embracing eclectic spiritual paths, drawing insights from multiple traditions without rigidly aligning with a single dogmatic system. This openness reflects a growing recognition that truth transcends cultural boundaries and institutional limits. The rise of interfaith dialogue, comparative religious studies, and global spiritual movements reflects a collective yearning to uncover and live by universal spiritual principles, beyond narrow dogmatic confines. Ultimately, transcending dogma means focusing on the essential spiritual teachings common to all traditions: interconnectedness, compassion, ethical living, and personal awakening. By continually returning to these fundamentals, individuals can experience authentic spirituality, unhindered by superficial distinctions. This rediscovery empowers humanity to live harmoniously, embracing diversity while celebrating universal truths that unite us in a shared spiritual journey. Fact Chapter 7: A Universal Path for Today. As humanity grows increasingly interconnected, there emerges a need for a universal spiritual path that integrates core truths from various traditions, addressing modern life's complexities. This chapter outlines practical steps and timeless practices designed to guide individuals on their unique spiritual journeys toward realizing personal and collective unity. The first essential step is recognizing one's spiritual lessons. Each individual faces unique challenges and opportunities designed to cultivate specific virtues or insights. Reflecting deeply upon one's life circumstances, relationships, and recurring patterns can help identify these lessons. Asking questions such as, "What am I meant to learn from this experience?" or "What spiritual virtue is being called forth?" can guide individuals toward conscious, intentional spiritual growth. Meditation and contemplation form the foundation of this universal path. Practices drawn from diverse traditions, such as mindfulness meditation from Buddhism, contemplative prayer from Christianity, or focused breathing from yoga traditions, enable individuals to quiet the mind, enhance self-awareness, and directly experience interconnectedness and unity. Practicing compassion daily is equally crucial. Engaging in acts of kindness, service, and empathy reinforces the lived experience of unity and interconnectedness. The Golden Rule becomes an active spiritual practice, encouraging ethical living, understanding and respect across all interactions. Another key practice involves cultivating spiritual discernment, developing the ability to recognize universal truths beneath various teachings, rituals, and traditions. This discernment grows from study, openness, and respectful dialogue with diverse spiritual perspectives. By embracing wisdom wherever found, individuals transcend divisive dogmas, fostering genuine spiritual understanding and unity. Maintaining a sense of connection to nature is also integral to this universal spiritual path. Regularly engaging with the natural world, through mindful walks, ecological responsibility, or contemplative observation, reinforces awareness of humanity's intimate connection with all life, nurturing humility, gratitude, and stewardship. Finally, cultivating community is essential. Spiritual growth thrives within supportive communities where individuals can safely explore, learn, and practice their spirituality together. Community involvement encourages mutual respect, collective wisdom, and shared experiences of unity, helping to transform personal insights into collective well-being. By following these universal principles, individuals and communities can forge a spiritual path grounded in the timeless truths of interconnectedness, compassion, and conscious living. This universal path offers practical guidance for navigating life's complexities, fostering personal awakening, global empathy, and deep, lasting harmony. It is a path not bound by dogma or culture, but by the common spiritual truths that unite all humanity. Wentz Epilogue, Returning Home. Our journey through diverse spiritual traditions and universal truths brings us back to a profound realization. At our core, we are fundamentally interconnected, each of us threads in the vast tapestry of existence. This understanding transcends cultures, religions, and eras, inviting us to live authentically and harmoniously in recognition of our shared spiritual essence. The spiritual journey, in essence, is a journey home, to the source, to unity, to truth. It is not merely an intellectual acknowledgement, but a lived experience, a transformation of consciousness that reshapes how we perceive and interact with ourselves, others, and the world around us. In embracing our interconnectedness, we dissolve barriers of misunderstanding, fear, and isolation, opening ourselves to compassion, empathy, and mutual respect. We come to see that every encounter, every relationship, and every experience is an opportunity to express our deepest truths and learn vital spiritual lessons. As you close this book, remember that your spiritual path is uniquely yours, guided by universal wisdom, yet shaped by your personal experiences and insights. Carry forward the principles of unity, compassion, and spiritual awakening into your daily life. Allow your inner wisdom to illuminate your actions, inspire your relationships, and contribute positively to our collective evolution. Ultimately, our shared destiny is one of unity and peace, a return to the spiritual home we have never truly left, but only temporarily forgotten. As we remember our interconnectedness, let us journey forward with open hearts and clear minds, embodying the profound truth that we are, and have always been, one.